Hey, I'm Zach, and today's video is about the idea of developing the entrepreneur's mindset while you're working at your current dev job. For developers who are looking to go freelance, it's my opinion that this is the number one thing that you can start implementing that will help you to, first off, enjoy your current job more, and then second off, prepare you for making this transition to freelance. So let's dive in. All right, so before we start, I just want to disclaim that this is not at all some comprehensive list of the only 11 tips you ever need to know. Instead, this is just 11 that kind of stuck out to me as really impactful ones for my own journey and what I could imagine other people who I've worked with would have benefited from, stuff like that. So without further ado, let's dig into the tips. The first mindset tip, and these are all kind of like mindsets to adopt, and I want you to be thinking about which ones stick out for you, because we're gonna have a worksheet at the end that'll help you implement whatever you think would benefit you the most. Tip number one, it is important to get really good. Why? Because that's the most important thing that's going to affect your success with your freelance business. Everything that you could ever learn about marketing or fancy funnels or traffic or whatever is not going to make nearly as big of a difference as the quality of the product that you make for your clients. So how do you get good and what does it mean? So to me, getting really good is not just about being really skilled at your job. Let's say you're a PHP developer. It's not only about knowing a lot of PHP. Getting really good is also about being really engaged with your work and being reliable and responsible. Being trustworthy that somebody can hand you a project and that you will go through the whole thing. You will intelligently think about how it's going to be used. A lot of developers don't do that. They don't think about how the end product is going to be used, and so they'll invest a lot of time into building something that's not even relevant for the core goal, kind of going down a little rabbit hole. Other developers will be skilled, but be kind of lazy and not review their own work. So it'll have to go back and forth to their boss a bunch of times before it's actually approvable, things like that. So when I say get good, I mean imagine that you have to be responsible for all aspects of creating really great product, and you didn't have anyone checking your work. Be able to create autonomously a really great product for whatever your skills are. An example that I would like to give is in my journey to get to this freelancing place that I'm at now that I really enjoy. When I was younger, I was broke all the time when first starting to freelance. And so I took on a job working in a marketing agency. And when I did, I didn't have very many skills. I was doing mostly HTML and CSS, mostly copying and pasting. But I was very good and efficient at this simple copy and pasting stuff. And so the people I work for really valued that because they had a really hard time finding good developers who were reliable. So don't think I'm telling you you need to be some uber pro code wizard. It's more just about deciding what it is that's your core expertise, being really good at that, being really reliable. And the way that you get better at this stuff is with deliberate practice, is a concept that I took from this book I recently read by Cal Newport called So Good They Can't Ignore You. I have the link for that below this video, as well as a link to the philosopher's note for it, which is a condensed summary. I really loved the book. But basically the concept is doing work that pushes you and is outside your comfort zone, not just practicing by doing the same work that you're already comfortable with, but doing new types of code work or doing new types of roles at your current company that push you and feel uncomfortable and challenging. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is the idea of extreme ownership, and another idea of fault versus responsibility. Extreme ownership comes from this book by a Navy SEAL, I think Jocko Willink or something like that. But the idea is owning responsibility for everything in your reality. And this, paired with the fault versus responsibility, is understanding that the example from The Subtle Art of Not Giving a is if someone puts a baby on your doorstep and leaves, and you open the door and there's this baby there, that's not your fault. but it is your responsibility. So adopting these with your work, especially if you're working at a current job, it's easy at a job to feel like you should only own whatever's exactly in your little sphere of awareness. And you say, oh, no, that's not my responsibility. That's somebody else's. But if you're looking to transition to freelance, it's going to benefit you a lot to feel comfortable owning all parts of the process. And even if it is true that this thing that's kind of in the edge of your sphere of responsibility doesn't feel like something you should do, you can still take responsibility for making sure it gets to the right person and it gets done, that sort of thing. Tip number 3, non-entitlement. Understand, especially as you're trying to make this transition from being employed to being freelance, understand that nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you a really nice working situation that you enjoy. It's about creating enough value in your quest to create this nice thing for yourself that you're going to succeed. And we'll talk more about value in a second. But just understand you're not entitled to something you like, and it has to be earned, and it has to be something that you get by giving a lot of value to your clients. 4, be self-motivated and proactive. This kind of touches on some of the stuff I was saying at the very beginning, but get your work done without having to be hounded. Do stuff that you think is going to need to be done without having to be asked. Just kind of be proactive and get comfortable working without somebody breathing down your neck, because when you're freelancing, you won't have anyone breathing down your neck. And if you try to scrape by with the bare minimum, like I did for my beginning years as a freelancer, what'll happen is sure, maybe you'll do your jobs and you'll get paid for them, but you won't get repeat business, you won't get referrals. And ultimately, every client that you take on is an opportunity for a referral. And you're either going to earn that referral or you're not. That's actually a good quotable thing. I should put that on Twitter. I'm going to write down to put that on Twitter. So yeah, if you are trying to build this skill and it's not comfortable yet, I have a few recommendations. So number 1, there's this work cycles spreadsheet from this ultra working company. It's really nifty. Basically, you can customize it to whatever time increments you want, and it'll build in breaks and work. So if you're familiar with the Pomodoro technique, it's kind of like a worksheet that'll guide you through that. I have the URL below the video. It's just zacurl.com/workcycles. That'll take you to their site. Another one is Pomodoros. I really like doing this in TickTick, which is the task management tool I use for just everything in my life. They have a Pomodoro function, and I will usually use this in tandem with the work cycle spreadsheet because you can modify the Pomodoro length. So for me personally, I currently like a 50-minute work and then 10-minute break cycle. So I'll do that in both Pomodoros and the work cycle spreadsheet. And then another really useful tool is FocusMate, which, by the way, that TickTick download, you can get that at zacurl.com/TickTick, also below the video. And then this other tool is called FocusMate, which it's like the work cycles thing, but it matches you with a person. So you actually go on video chat with someone, you tell them what your goal is for the session, and you check in at the end. This has been really, really helpful for me, especially for things that I don't want to do, because it gives you a little bit of accountability. And the URL for that one is zacurl.com/FocusMate. All the links are below the video. So these, if you're trying to build this skill of being holding yourself accountable and not needing someone breathing down your neck, these can be really helpful because it allows a stranger who signed up to breathe down your neck, and you get your shit done without your boss having to hound you or without your client having to hound you. Very, very, very valuable. Tip number 5 for developing the entrepreneur mindset is look for opportunities. Opportunities to contribute, opportunities to improve yourself, opportunities to solve painful problems for people, opportunities to navigate roadblocks. Basically, building that opportunity problem solution kind of mindset is a very core belief that entrepreneurs have, because the best products are solving expensive problems for people. And it also is going to make a really big difference in your level of persistence with your business. If you can see things as problems that can be solved or obstacles that can be navigated versus impasses that you can't possibly move through, because there are going to be a lot of challenges on the road. And understanding that this is just a series of opportunities that you can seize is going to be really helpful for you. So as you're looking for opportunities, especially opportunities to serve different markets or product ideas or whatever, one word of caution is to be careful to not be flitting too much between ideas. I think it's really great to fail fast, is a common expression. But at least for someone like me, sometimes what it'll result in is a lot of like half-hearted attempts that maybe if I had put myself more into them would have succeeded. So I think if you're going for this opportunity mindset and you're embracing quick failures and stuff, just kind of keep in mind or keep a pulse on how much you're using the search for the best opportunity as something that's actually getting your way and causing you to never make any meaningful progress in one direction. Because as a rule, if you do anything long enough, you'll be successful with it. And the thing that I've personally always struggled with is the doing something long enough to be successful with it. Tip number 6, I don't know how I'm going to do this once I get to 11, but tip number 6, as I touched on a second ago, is embracing that struggle. Most freelancers struggle for a really long time, myself included. And it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy. So just understand that each day that you struggle is one more box ticked on your path to success. It's one less day that you are struggling until you reach your success. There's this Joseph Campbell quote, "The demon you can swallow gives you its power. The greater life's pain, the greater life's reply." And it's around this idea of just loving your fate as it is, accepting it as it is, and instead of rejecting what your reality is, working within it and charting a course around whatever comes your way. There's a nice +1 on the optimized site for that, which I have linked below the video for the swallowing demons thing. And the tie-in for all this is optimism in general. When something challenging comes your way, what's your relationship with it? Do you victimize yourself and complain about it, or do you look for solutions and start moving towards them? Obviously, life throws some really hard stuff our way sometimes. I'm not suggesting that you're not going to get knocked down. It's more about picking yourself up and understanding that you can move through the challenges. So, mindset number 7, imperfection and a willingness to fail. This one I think is huge for entrepreneurs because you're going to be failing constantly if you're doing things right. And perfection is really hard to attain, maybe impossible to attain. So it's good to set out understanding that you're not going to be perfect and that progress, as they say, is better than perfection. So embrace imperfection, do the best that you can, but understand that your best now is going to probably be embarrassing in a few years. I look back on code that I wrote a handful of years ago and I am embarrassed by it. But that's okay, because if I never wrote that code, I wouldn't be writing the better code that I am now. So that's just kind of part of the process. Know that your first freelance clients you take on, you're not going to do your best work and you're probably going to mess up and you're probably going to burn some bridges. You're going to probably mess up some relationships, but try your best. And when you do make mistakes, identify them, look at what you could have done differently, and make a plan for what you can do differently next time. And that's how you're going to reach whatever goals you're looking for with your business. Tip number 8, there are no magic bullets. Usually, in my experience, when I've had magic bullets that I've tried that came across my path, they came across my path because someone was trying to sell me something. So if it sounds too easy or too good to be true, it probably is. I have a tendency to think of things as being easier than they are when I haven't started yet. Like, oh, how hard could it possibly be, even though I know nothing about it? I don't know if you're prone to this, but for me, I have in the past kind of set myself up for failure by expecting something to be easy. And then when it turns out it's not easy, I'm disappointed and then I get derailed. To me, the only real magic bullet is time, effort, and consistency, pushing yourself with deliberate practice. If you implement those, you will be successful eventually. But there's always going to be competition at the very bottom because we live in an age where it's really easy to start stuff. Like it's really easy to start an online business. So there's just loads of people doing this. But the more that you can stay the course and keep working when other people will have quit, the more you're setting yourself up for a dream business. 9, find the right balance between like planning, prep work, and implementation. Historically, I have leaned more towards implementation without proper planning, more so than too much planning without implementation. But I've shot myself in the foot so many times where I have squandered an opportunity or just missed a whole opportunity because I didn't plan enough. So big mindset for an entrepreneur is just understanding that both are going to be really beneficial. You don't want to just go only by the seat of your pants. It's really nice to have some trajectory that you planned out first, but then understanding that all of the best laid plans are going to fall apart, or maybe not fall apart, but they're certainly going to need some recharting on your little map as you start implementing. So find the balance. Tip number 10 is a big mindset one if you're not used to thinking as an entrepreneur, which is the concept of value exchange. So I touched on this at the beginning when I was talking about non-entitlement, but basically in life, whenever you do something for somebody, you are like giving them a piece of value. Whenever you ask for something, you are getting some value. And so when you're at a job, you produce value for the company by rendering a service that their clients are paying them for. And they give you value by paying you. And a lot of what I teach in the free Quit Your Dev Job course, where we're talking about transitioning to freelancing, is building in more flexibility into your job, getting things like working from home or reducing your hours, taking on side gigs, or whatever it is it means to you. Maybe it means going to less meetings. Understand that when you're wanting to ask for things like that, you're essentially asking your job to like provide more value to you. And if you adopt this value exchange mindset, it's really helpful, because then if you want to ask a client or your job or whatever for more value, you can think value first and value forward and ask yourself how you can create more value for them than you're asking for them to give to you. And then suddenly it's not like them doing you a favor in order to allow you to do something, but that them allowing you to do that thing is going to benefit them more. So of course they'll say yes. Stuff like that. Like, yeah, I think it's clear. I don't think I need more examples. So number 11, this is the one I've been dreading because I don't know how to make an 11, maybe like 11. Get comfortable wearing a lot of different hats. These days, I think of myself as a developer. But when I first started my business, I actually wanted to be a designer. I didn't even want to learn code. But I had to learn code because if I was going to run like a website business, people were going to ask for code. And so I just kind of learned it as I needed. Over the years, I've built so many different skills in this path to running my business. Like I have a bunch listed in the notes if you're following along in the course. But if you're trying to start a freelance business, you are going to have to learn a lot of different skills. And depending on the kind of work you plan to do freelance, it might be less than me. So for me, I set out to build WordPress websites for people. So that requires design skills, it requires dev skills, it requires like copywriting and stuff like that. But if you're going to be a freelancer who only does dev, like say on a larger team, like maybe someone will hire you freelance to work on their software product for 6 months. In that case, you don't necessarily need quite as many skills as if you're trying to start your own business, like building WordPress sites for people like I did or something. But regardless, if you are going to be a freelancer, you will need a lot of different skills, even basic stuff like having an eye for design and knowing how to invoice clients, bookkeeping, things like that. So if you can get comfortable while at your current job wearing different hats and being comfortable doing more than just only dev, it's going to benefit you as you are soon going to be put into a situation where you're going to have to do more stuff. So there's a lot more than these tips to cultivating an entrepreneur's mindset, as I said before, but these are some that stuck out to me as things that have been really influential for me over the years. So the next thing we'll talk about is how to actually implement these new ways of thinking. So I've created a worksheet that I'm going to walk through with you on this. If you want to download it for free, join the course that I mentioned a couple of times. You can go to quityourdevjob.com and join for free. And then once you're in there, if you go under the mindset module and into the 11 tips lesson, you'll see a layout like this, except it won't have my placeholder video. You can just go into materials and click the worksheet download, and then we can follow along. So my experience, the key for implementing new habits is to take them on slowly. I think just one at a time. So my challenge for you would be to pause if you haven't yet, if you need to think about it. Think about which of these things, or maybe something else entirely that's been nagging you for a while, which of these or that other one is going to be most impactful for you to start implementing right now into your life. So pause and think about that. And I would recommend you focus on just this one first until it's comfortable and natural, and then add more. Another thing I found really helpful for implementing new habits is committing to it. Whatever that looks like for you. For some people, it means telling a significant other or a friend or putting it on Facebook, whatever it is to you, but committing to it. Sometimes I've even noticed that just me committing internally, not even telling anybody else, but just kind of making the decision, okay, this is who I am now. That little decision alone makes all the difference. Another really important thing is consistency. So for me, I really like TickTick again for this. Link below the video, zacurl.com/TickTick. They have a habit set up in the app so you can create habits. So like right now, my habits, I recently purged all of them because I had way too many. Let me see what I've got now. Right now, I've got mineralize all the water I drink, morning gratitude exercises, workout, daily journal, and don't drink water within 30 minutes of meals. These are difficult for me because they are counter to the habits I've maintained for a really long time. And so you just like tick these off every day in TickTick. It's quite cool. Another thing I found really helpful is setting tangible goals. And this is where the worksheet's going to be helpful. But setting tangible goals on like a weekly basis or every 2 weeks or whatever that are essentially goals to embody the new mindset. So with my mineralize my water, there really aren't that many goals for me to set. But with implementing some new way of thinking, that's where it's going to be really helpful. So let's, at this point, dig into the worksheet because that's going to cover this one and the next one. So here in the worksheet, you see that I've built an area for the today's date and for the target date. So if you don't, for some reason, want to download the worksheet, you can just do this on your own paper. And the first one is the desired new habit. So you could fill that out with whichever one is most important to you. So I recommend you pause and fill that out. And by the way, this PDF, it's here on Dropbox, but it's a fillable PDF. So if you download it and open it in Adobe Reader, you can fill it out on your computer without printing it and save it. So I'd recommend you do that. Careful not to do it in Chrome, because if you do it in Chrome, it will not save the stuff that you fill. So the next question here is, what are specific ways you could put this new habit into practice? So I have a little note here that if you're having trouble thinking of ways to implement this, maybe look backwards. Look backwards at like the past couple weeks and think if there have been situations in your job where you could have implemented this, or maybe you saw your coworker do something where they would have benefited from implementing this. That'll maybe start getting the gears flowing a little bit. And the last part of this worksheet is celebrating your successes. So I've got a couple links I'll put below the video. There are some other plus ones on Optimize. One of them is the that's like me sort of behavior, and the other one is just a plus one on celebrating. But apparently, there's been all sorts of research in that if you are trying to implement habit change, and as soon as you do something that is in line with this new thing you want to do, if you celebrate physically, you say, yes, that's like me. It actually helps your body and brain and whatever magical stuff implement this new way of being even better. So that's something to consider. Check out those plus ones. And here in the worksheet, I have some space for, as you're going, to just write down successes. So maybe you take a look at this worksheet at the beginning of the day on your way to work. Maybe have it on your desk. And whenever you do something throughout the day, celebrate it immediately, pat yourself on the back, whatever you want to do, and jot it down here on your successes area. And then my thought is you're probably going to have some time in the coming weeks where you feel not so great. And for me, when I feel great, I sort of invalidate my whole past and I say, I suck now, I sucked then, I will suck in the future. And my hope is that if you have these successes down, when you're feeling like you're not making progress and you're not going to ever be able to do this big thing you're wanting to do, you can look at this and remind yourself, you are making progress. You are getting these little things done. And all of the goals you want to reach are just a series of small successes. So I think that's all I have for today. Next steps here, tell me which of these resonated with you. Leave a comment. And are there any really important entrepreneurial traits you think I forgot? Tell me that. And I would say your biggest next step is to pick the number one mental habit and do the worksheet. Write it out and set your goal for the coming week or 2 weeks or however long you want and get going with it. Hope it's helpful. If you want to download the worksheet, again, you can just go to quityourdevjob.com and join the free course where I'll walk you through this worksheet and a bunch of other helpful stuff. So hope to see you in there. Thanks.